You have failed your duty.
I have learned that Atoma is cast by the dark stained truth. Chaos is the arch enemy of mankind.
Atoma's in trouble. No two ways about it. The only hope we have in this mess lies in us sending our strike teams where they're needed.
Their chains no longer bind us.
Is this kind of no-over the best we can recruit these days?
This is a mistake. I am a loyal servant of the throne.
Shame you'll never get to prove that.
Darktide is a co-op Left 4 Dead-like class-based horde shooter set in the grim, dark and depressing universe that is Warhammer 40k. My gateway drug into the franchise that is Warhammer. Set in the Mobian domain on the planet of Atoma in the hive city of Tertium, where Nurgle's Chaos Forces have been doing a little trolling, spreading not only disease, rot and decay, but also heresy. And if there's one thing I've learned about Warhammer, it's that heresy is very, very bad. The best way to sum up the situation here on Atoma, it's fucked. It all pretty much starts with the Mobian 6th. Atoma's greatest heroes at the time being deployed on a planet called Nox Alpha to fight against the Darktide in the Fringe Wars. And to say that the deployment was going well for them is a complete lie. Nox Alpha was a death world, and to call it an utter shithole would be an understatement. The Mobian 6th had very little support from Atoma, and if you weren't covered head to toe in protection or have a gas mask, you'd probably be in for a very gooey and gross end. And understandably, the Mobian 6th were not very happy with the situation. At some point, they met a Nurgle cult on Nox Alpha, struck a deal, switched teams, and then proceeded to return to Atoma and pretty much go on a very angry rampage. They went from Atoma's greatest heroes to Atoma's biggest villains. And now they are known as the Scabs, freeing the people of Tertium of the false emperor and killing any and all loyalists. And their partners in heresy, the Dregs, who are a Nurgle cult who have been planning this attack on Atoma for what seems to be years, as a few sub-levels and crime factions have been dealing and scheming with them, and the Mobian 21st, who were there on patrol duty at the time, had to find out the hard way that Atoma was under attack. But never fear, for an Inquisition warband, rogue traders and the Mobian 53rd have arrived as backup for the Mobian 21st. You'd think with these factions working together they'd make short work of the heretics, wouldn't ya? Nah, they didn't. Although the Inquisition has agents and spies everywhere, they themselves are struggling with manpower. It's at a point where they're conscripting penile legions just to throw at the heretics in the hopes they whittle down the numbers a little bit. The Mobian 21st are either being butchered or being corrupted by heretical combat-enhancing drugs. The rogue traders don't even want to be there, but they have to because the Inquisition commandeered their ship. The Mobian 53rd are new to the scene. They're probably astonished how Atoma hasn't fallen yet. And the Lex have been in the background since the start of the war, letting the Inquisition do its thing, but seeing as how bad things are, they've just run out of patience and said, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. And with all this combined effort from these factions, the heresy just keeps getting worse. Demons are popping up everywhere, battles are mostly consisting of gaining inches or losing tons, and either equipment is getting compromised or just outright failing. You'd wonder how they haven't resorted to exterminatus yet. Well, apparently Atoma makes really good tanks and the best Mobian steel in the domain, so yeah. So Reject, where do you fit in all of this? Well, to start off with, you gotta make your operative first. There's lots of things to choose from: what planet you're from, what you did growing up, what your past was like, and what your defining moment is, and what got you thrown into the slammer in the first place. This stuff serves no actual gameplay function, but it's just nice to have these little details to your character. Anyway, you start off on a prison ship. You preach your innocence to people who could not give a fuck. For all we know, you were probably thrown in here for shits and giggles. Anyway, 10 seconds later, Scabs attack the ship, cause a little bit of mischief, accidentally free you from your cell, and now you must find a way to escape the ship as it's infested with poxwalkers. You save the tutorial lady, and the two of you fight your way to the hangar to escape the doomed ship, and after a little bit of training and some introductions, you're officially conscripted into the Inquisition. Congratulations! Now that you're fresh meat for the meat grinder that is the war on Atoma, Darktide makes it clear from the start that you are nothing more than a disposable reject. You will be sent on suicide missions with other fellow rejects with limited resources and limited intel. Upon completing and surviving said missions, you will gain reputation and level up your character to the maximum level of 30, which isn't a long grind at all because I managed to level up one of my characters in like a few hours. As you level up, you gain access to new stations to upgrade or acquire equipment, but at some point, it's revealed that there is a traitor on board the ship and has been getting strike teams killed in action, as well as killing other operatives on board the ship, and you are one of many suspects who must prove their loyalty to the Inquisition. After completing a few missions later and getting to level 30, the traitor is revealed to be this lady who you've probably seen once while looking at the commissary and realizing you don't have enough money to afford anything in it. Anyway, she's shot dead and your feats are finally recognized and you're now a respected member of the warband. You're still gonna die a disposable reject's death on Atoma, but at least everyone will give a nod of respect when you finally meet the Emperor. Now, since the release of the RBD's DLC, their introduction is slightly different. Instead of being introduced as a prisoner, your band of Lex mates have acknowledged that they have failed their duty and now seek atonement via being far more active and are now reluctantly working with the warband. They have a new intro sequence of just them barging their way into the Morningstar saying, "You lot suck at your jobs, we're gonna help you now," and that's about where it ends for them. There's not really much of a story, no traitor subplot, no nothing. Kind of disappointing really, but oh well. I could go into more about Darktide's story, but there's so much shit happening in this game behind the scenes, it would need its own video and proper research.
From now on, it's do or die.
Are these dogs ready to die?
Yes, sir.
Alright, with all that out the way, let's talk gameplay and mechanics, starting with the rejects themselves. There are 5 classes to choose from, each with their own weapons and abilities to play with. Being ex-soldiers of the Astra Militarum, veterans are really good at shooting things. You can either make your shots count or just spray and pray through the heretics, because no matter what, they may have the numbers, but you got the bullets. To say zealots are the Emperor's #1 fans is an understatement. These guys are fanatic warriors that will pick up any blunt or sharp object and purge their way through the strongest of heretics as they specialize in melee combat. Psychers are the space wizards, but everyone hates them. They can use the power of the warp to help support their allies or destroy their enemies. They're either really good at singling out high priority targets or causing havoc with crowd control like abilities. Just don't let the voices take over. Ogrins are the biggest, the strongest, the toughest, and by far the most loyal soldiers of the Imperium. These guys have the most health and pack some very heavy punches. You can be smashing and crushing bodies with the biggest knives and clubs, or you are shredding through hordes of heretics with their heaviest guns with enough ammunition to do it 40k times over. Judge, jury, executioner, and dog lover. The RBDs are the Judge Dreads of the Warhammer universe, and they have sentenced all heretics to death. Warriors of the Emperor's Justice, they seek to restore order either via devastating weaponry or the jaws of their cyber mastiff. All 5 classes have 3 different playstyles that you can choose from their skill tree. For example, with Veteran, you can either make a marksman crit build where you can make every shot count, a supportive tank build where you can pick up your allies just by ordering them to, or you can make a stealth build that is very speedy and fast paced. But what if you don't want to do either of that? What if you don't like any of it? What if you want to mix and match the perks and make something absurd or unique? Well, Reject, you can do just that. You have 30 skill points to spend and create the loadout that perfectly fits the kind of playstyle that is suited to you. The skill tree is really flexible, and if you can think it, Darktide will 9 out of 10 times let you build it. For example, here's my favorite Ogrim build. He loves big booms. I can pretty much nuke the heretics with little to no effort with this build, and it's really fun.
Found your way to the mission terminal, did ya? Guess that means I can't have you executed. Not yet.
Alright, it's time to talk about missions. Darktide has recently updated and reworked the mission terminal to not only improve some areas, they've also made a narrative campaign to improve Darktide's storytelling. The campaign wasn't there before the Arbitrator DLC. You kinda just did random missions that kept you busy and distracted as you leveled up. And when you hit certain levels, you would also get like story cutscenes here and there. The narrative was sort of non-existent until you were reminded it existed. Like, oh yeah, there is a traitor on board the ship still, isn't there? But now with the updated mission terminal, the campaign now tells a more coherent story, as well as having campaign-exclusive events and dialogue. As stated before, when you complete a mission, you will also unlock new stations aboard the Morningstar that will aid you in your purging antics, like weapon modifications or acquisitions. Darktide has 5 difficulties: Uprising, Malice, Heresy, Damnation, and Auric. Basically, the higher the difficulty, the bigger the mission rewards at the end. Some missions that are on Malice difficulty or higher will have mission modifiers, ranging from increased spawn rates of certain enemies from low to high intensities, making the map dark and hiding hordes of poxwalkers around every corner, and many other modifiers that add a challenge for you to overcome. Once you've unlocked all the difficulties, Maelstroms will become available to you. These missions are meant to be more difficult than Auric, and few can claim the title Auric Storm Survivor, but completing these missions gives you loads of money and resources. So if you need to grind, or you just want to get better at the game, or you just enjoy the late game intensity, Darktide will keep you busy.
Now, what if Auric missions were not hard enough for you? And what if you've already become an Auric Storm Survivor? And what if you crave that feeling of being mentally and physically destroyed? Well, there's Havoc. Havoc is as hard as Darktide gets, and yes, Havoc has modifiers that are even harder than the Auric ones, especially the Maelstrom one. Regardless, if you want to brag about how you never touched grass or seen a shower in days, grinding your Havoc level to 40 is the way to go. It is currently the biggest brag in the game. Now, what if you don't want to suffer repeated cock and ball torture? What if you just want to experience Darktide's fast-paced madness more casually? Well, Sephiroth's got you covered. The Mortis Trials is the newest mode added to Darktide, and it's a chaotic one at that. It's got your standard 5 difficulties and endgame rewards, but instead of going out on missions, you survive an onslaught of hordes conjured up by Sephiroth to train you for the field. And it's got roguelike elements in it with perk modifiers and random events that happen. All you gotta do is survive 12 waves, and let me tell you, it gets absurd at the end.
Alright, your team's assembled and you got your build to fuck around with. It's time to get familiar with Darktide's gameplay. This here is pretty much your health bar, and the blue thing above it is your toughness. Toughness is like a regenerating health bar, whereas your actual health bar only regens if you use healing items. Toughness regenerates when you are damaging or killing enemies. Once your toughness breaks, that's when you start taking actual health damage. It also passively regenerates if you're in cohesion with your teammates. Cohesion is an important mechanic that helps you regenerate toughness significantly more efficiently when you're with the team versus being alone. You also benefit from team auras that help you in combat as well as each other's combat abilities. If you break cohesion, you're not only hindering yourself but also the rest of the team. And Darktide may just punish you by sending a trapper or a hound your way. Throughout the mission runs, you will come across equipment and supplies to help you, ranging from stims, ammo, grenades, and equipment packs. Stims give you boosts in certain categories like combat boost, ability regen, speed, and healing. Ammo is scarce and limited, so don't go hogging it all. It's the same with health stations and health items. Your HUD will show what your team resources look like, so just be mindful of them. Combat plays out in 2 ways. The first is to shoot your way through the heretics. Gunfighting is intense and fast-paced, but really fun. I love shooting heretics. I love burning them down with lasgun fire, shredding them to pieces with automatic guns, or just outright obliterating them into a bloody paste with the heavier stuff. You can also bash enemies with the butt of your guns or jab them with bayonets if you have them, so you're not entirely helpless when you gotta reload. The second kind of combat, and this is where Darktide truly shines, is the melee combat. Melee in this game feels good. Melee weapons have impact and have different damage reactions based on if you hit armor or not. You've got your standard blocking and shoving mechanic, except you can block all around you. It does eat more stamina, but it stops that one poxwalker from sneaking up behind you and shoving that lead pipe up where the Emperor's light doesn't shine. However, there are 2 attacks you must never, under any circumstances, try to block. Melee weapons also come with a third gimmick to them, whether it be some kind of special attack or just a stun jab. The combat loop in this game is very addictive. It's like Doom Eternal with the fun zone. Once you're in it, it's got you, and it won't let go.
Mercy for the blood order!
We have various devices that we depend on. They make the difference between getting the job done and getting dead.
Speaking of weapons, Darktide has a huge variety of them, plus weapons exclusive for specific classes. Except for Ogrim, because his weapons are the biggest and require the strongest to hold. Most weapons have different marked versions of themselves. For example, the Recon Las Rifle has a version where it has a really fast fire rate, a huge magazine size, but at a cost of damage and accuracy. But there is another option for it where it could be the other way around. Melee weapons are the same in this regard. They can have different swing attacks, or different special attacks such as a stun jab or a very specific high damaging attack. You can also customize them stat-wise and cosmetically, though that last one is very limited because there's like 5 weapon camos to earn in the entire game. Though there are like a load of weapon charms and I don't even know where I got most of these, they kinda just started appearing in my inventory. You will also have to go through the process of mastering your weapons in order for them to reach their maximum potential. All you gotta do is kill heretics to level them up. It's very linear but very easy. Speaking of, let's talk about who we'll be purging with said weapons. Darktide's enemies have different categories for their roles in combat and what they do. Some of the enemies that you'll be facing are solely designed to be butchered by you, some of them are there to spice things up during combat, and others are there to humble you. You will be fighting 2 factions, the Nurgle cultist Dregs and the Mobian 6th turn traitor guard now known as the Scabs. Both factions have similar units but with different stats and damage types. The Scabs are mainly more armored and have higher health damage, whereas the Dregs are more squishy but cause corruption and toughness damage. You have horde enemies, which is pretty much the fodder designed to be killed by you, their main strength being the fact that they try to overwhelm you with their massive numbers. Elite enemies are really easy to spot, but they'll mix themselves in with the horde enemies to spice up the combat. Enemies like the gunners laying down a barrage of bullets at a distance that can shred you if you left them unchecked. Or a squad of ogrins on their way to wreck things up. Especially these two, Maulers and Crushers have a one-hit down attack that you need to watch out for. If you see either of these fuckers doing an overhead attack, get the hell out of the way. Specialists are enemies designed to disrupt or force your team into breaking cohesion. These guys will announce themselves when they spawn and they'll be making specific noise cues to let you know that they are lurking. Things like the Poxburster, for example. It will make a distant ticking noise that only gets faster and louder the closer it gets to your team. Or Flamer enemies announcing themselves once they spawn. And you can hear them running around via the sloshing of their Flamer tanks. Monstrosities are mini-bosses that show up to test your team's DPS and self-awareness. For example, the Plague Ogre tosses and displaces you and your teammates while you fight it. The Beast of Nurgle vomits chaos sludge everywhere, causing corruption damage if you step in it, all while trying to eat you. Chaos spawns go completely berserk and just do really fast attacks. They're basically oversized rages. And the Demon Host is an enemy you want to avoid combat with. It's basically the witch from Left 4 Dead. Don't disturb it and you'll be alright. Captains also count as monstrosities, however they have very specific spawn requirements, whether as a final mission objective boss fight or that there's a modifier on that allows them to. Darktide's enemies are really well designed. You can easily counter them whilst they can easily kick the shit out of you at the same time. Especially on the higher difficulties where they demand your best. I never felt cheated whenever I got my shit kicked in or whenever the dreaded trapper sneaks up behind me because I wasn't listening for a mischievous and loud laughter. Hopefully they expand the roster a little bit more. I'd like to see some more scab units or dreg abominations. Now, what's the point of purging heretics? What's the point of the grind? Maybe you want to make the perfect build. Maybe you want that perfect gold roll. Maybe you want that perfect specimen. But most likely, the main motivator is that 40k drip. Sure, you can go to the microtransaction store and buy a cool set for like 20 to 30 bucks. But there are a lot of cosmetics to earn just by playing the game. You got the commissary with a variety of armors and clothing to buy from, which, to be fair, most of them are just color or pattern alts. There's also the penance challenges and the penance progression system to earn unique armors that basically brag about your achievements. Some penances are easy as hell, others are slightly harder, and some of them require fucking blood sacrifice to achieve it. But they are a decent test of your skill and knowledge. I've completed all the class penances as well as the penance progression system. I've unlocked all the wearable armor and clothing in the game at the moment. And no, I have not recovered from this process. I sure hope Fat Shark don't release a 5th class and make me do the process all over again.
Oh, no.
However, with all this praise and glazing I've been giving Darktide, it's not without its faults. Whilst this game has had massive improvements since launch, there are a couple of things that it could do a little bit better. One thing that's been a problem for Darktide since launch is the optimization. You need a good rig or a tech priest to bless your PC in order to have a stable game. It's much better now compared to launch, but occasionally it still finds a way to chug even though it's on the lowest possible settings. There are loads of cosmetics to unlock in the game, but there just needs needs to be a little bit more variety in them. As stated before, a lot of them are just recolors of each other, and whilst it doesn't personally bother me, I do think there needs to be more unique looking options. Havoc mode needs a seriously better incentive to play instead of just the one armor set and a couple of titles you earn by playing it. I'd say just add more earnable armor, more variants of the Mobian 53rd armor, or maybe just more variants of the Mobian 21st armor. Still on the topic of cosmetics, seriously, Fat Shark, make more weapon camos or models that are earnable. Just simple colors or camo patterns, shit, maybe even Mobian 53rd stuff for Havoc, or some Inquisition themed camos for completing the campaign. Just seriously, we are long overdue for more variety of this stuff. The microtransaction source, specifically, make Aquilus earnable via playing the game. I can understand the presence of the microtransaction store as a necessary evil. Darktide is a live service after all, but it's not free to play either. Now, I'm not saying every time I complete a Maelstrom mission I should get like 1 million Aquilus. I think they should just make it a resource like Diamantine or Plasteel that you can find by exploring the map. Like maybe 100 earnable Aquilus at most per Auric or Maelstrom match. Maybe add it as part of the weekly reward you get from playing Havoc. I mean, it just adds another incentive to play Havoc. Just do what Helldivers 2 does with its super credits. If you want them, you gotta go out and find them. Now, I mentioned the new UI before. Now, as good as it was to make a functioning campaign narrative, I gotta say, I don't like the new UI. It's oddly confusing compared to the old one, and some things are just missing. Maybe it'll grow on me over time, but I don't know. I'm not the only one who's just looking at this thing and going, what the fuck am I looking at? And where is what I'm looking for? Despite its drawbacks and really rocky launch, Darktide throughout the past couple of years has been doing really well. Lots of things to do and a decent amount of story and world building and expansion for people who want to know what the hell is going on during this war, and others who just enjoy Darktide's tomfoolery. Some much needed reworks and overhauls such as the introduction of the skill trees and Ogren's much needed skill tree rework. Some map reworks have been done to improve mission flow and experiences, and some recent events have been really cool, like the more recent Inferno one where the whole map's on fire and you see more fire-based enemies running around. Darktide at the moment is currently going through a golden age of content. Its story has expanded and evolved much more since launch, loads of new missions and experience to keep you busy, and recently adding a whole new class and faction into the game with the Arbitrator. I hope Darktide can keep up this momentum. Whilst I'm not expecting them to drop a new class every month or season, I hope we see more missions and more modes added, as well as some additional enemies to purge or die to. Like, where's our Plague Bearer, Fat Shark? We know they're running around. The fucker's skull is right here. And hopefully we'll see some features that the community's been begging for ages at this point. Like playing missions solo, without any bots or players. Just you taking on the heresy by yourself. Hopefully some more interesting stories as well. Things are just getting spicy.
There have been complications.
No more excuses. My time is running out.
Either way, I'd recommend Darktide. If not for being a really cool entry-level Warhammer game, at least a fun horde shooter that will keep you busy for hours. Maybe you'll just wind up enjoying the purging of heretics as much as I do. I could expand the topics I covered in the video more, but that would make the video longer than it already is, and I also think the topics will be a lot more digestible as their own separate videos. Anyway, thanks for watching, and remember who you're purging for. For Atoma, for the Emperor.
You said you were a loyal servant of the throne.
I did.
Then prove it.
Atonement will come only when the tide is restored.
I'll be watching you, Acolyte. What does your best